back, baby. Your boy, the one and only, the kid, the nonprofit sector connector, Tommy D, Long Island Changemakers. That's the name of this program, and that's what I bring you, is very important people doing very important work. Sometimes they're nonprofit leaders, sometimes they're business leaders, sometimes they're both. Today is what I would say my retirement plan is here with me, right here. Charles Weinraub, the handsome home buyer. We met a bunch of years ago. I don't know if you remember when we met, do you?
Did Valerie introduce us? Yes, no, Christina Shaw.
Christina Shaw,
I do remember.
Jamie Shaw's office. He had like an upstairs and a downstairs. We were at a conference table. How many years ago was that? Like when was that? Like you were just getting started.
So I've been in real estate for like 8 years, so that was probably like right around there.
Yeah, it was like, I think you might have still had the shop. Like was it Amco?
Okay. Yeah.
I think you might have been like Mako, not Amco. I think you were like transitioning out. But I joke with you all the time. Like I was telling somebody else who I was with this morning, I said, I'm going to see my friend handsome home buyer, you know, and I said, he's my retirement plan. I said, I check in on his health all the time just to see how he's doing.
I'm solid,
and he goes,
man.
dude,
Rock solid.
I'm in the ice bath. I'm good, Tommy D. I'm eating right. That's what I need to hear, man. What am I talking about? I invest with you. So the money that I have, I've given to Charles as an investment because you are the handsome home buyer. You're doing great work. So I thought nobody better from a Changemakers perspective. You know, you're changing the landscape of Long Island in a lot of ways. You're changing communities, and I watch you a lot. You do a ton of this content stuff yourself. So why don't we talk a little bit about your journey and what you're doing?
So what do we do? So this year will be our biggest year. We're going to do about 100 and somewhere, give or take, because it's December. So we got a couple weeks left, so we'll see how it shakes out. But more or less, give or take, we're going to close about 150 deals this year. So it means we're going to purchase, renovate, resell, build, rent, et cetera, 150 new deals in Nassau and Suffolk County, Long Island.
It's unbelievable. It's more than 10 a month. I mean, that's like 11 average or something a month.
We actually transitioned the entire business about 12 months ago from what it was to what it is now. So that's what I'm most proud of is A, we pivoted. B, after pivoting, we had our biggest year yet. And I feel comfortable that we can do somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 600 houses a year. Wow. That's where we're going. That's the future.
That's unbelievable.
You're on the rocket ship. It's about to take off.
I'm telling
you. You got a great seat.
And I love being on this seat. You know, I think it's important to watch you. And you know, a lot of what I've seen you do is like content is king for you, man. You know, you do so much of it. You have a team. You go around. You do this stuff. How much has that really been like a shot in the arm for the business? Because I know you get a lot of calls. Like people just know who you are, right?
Yeah, I mean, people always say like, can you quantify the value of a personal brand?
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing. All I know is that people take gas station selfies with me like I'm a famous person. Like I will roll into Hess, go to fill up the tank, and people are like, oh my God, my wife will never believe it's you.
Oh my God.
And take a picture of you. Or as I'm walking on the street, people will grab me. Or every time I go out to dinner. Or like my mother, I'll feature my mother in certain social media posts. Yeah. She'll go in to get her hair done. They'll be like, oh my God, you're the handsome homebuyer's mom. Like, have a free haircut on us. It's hard to quantify, but I will tell you, my phone rings all day, every day. Yeah. People DM me constant opportunities. I mean, just yesterday, a gentleman, I have absolutely no idea who he is. He's a real estate agent, and he said, I have 2 opportunities for you, and I'm going to meet him tomorrow to see 2 houses.
And you've never seen him before?
Never met him, don't know who he is. If he was standing next to me, I wouldn't know who he was.
And if you like him, they're yours, which means you're getting in early in these opportunities because I believe, from watching you and seeing you for a lot of years now, because of obviously what you created. Can you quantify it? Well, I don't know what it's worth value-wise, but you're getting the first call from a guy who's got 2 properties that are yours if you want them.
Yeah, with that, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Happens every single month.
Yeah.
Every single month.
Every single month. Pivot, all right? You talked about this, and I saw it in a video just recently, you know, and it was I don't want to say you're an open book, but I think you're similar. I think we have this in common. You say what's on your mind. You're authentic, genuine, right? And I think that's incredibly valuable in a brand, in a personal brand. And just recently, I saw a video that you posted, and it talked about wholesaling, that you wanted to, desired to be in the wholesale game, and you had this incredibly successful operation already going, and you were like, oh shoot, what should I not? You know, don't mess with what's working, right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so basically, originally we would buy everything. So I kind of talk about the pivot for a minute. I used to do 50, 60, 70, 80 plus houses a year, and all the business came in from relationships. So like yourself, being the master of networking, literally.
I'm pretty good at it.
I would go out and I would network with real estate agents, and I would go out and network with attorneys and accountants, et cetera, and they would call me, and I would buy deals from them as a result. And that was great. It didn't cost me any money, just as long as you keep those relationships going. You constantly have deal flow, and you don't spend any money on marketing. That's great. The bad thing is, it's not really a scalable business, and it's a business that you are tied to.
Yeah.
So
meaning you had to be nurturing these relationships.
I'm the guy,
to,
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what you're doing is you're tying yourself to a job. It might be a very high-paying job, it might be a lucrative job, but it's still a job nonetheless. If I disappear tomorrow and they're like, oh, I can't call Charles, that's it. Like, the business ends. I can't go away on vacation for a month. You know, nothing can happen.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? I know we have that in common, right? And that's a Kiyosaki thing right there, right? You have a job. You're probably in the wrong quadrant if you go cash flow quadrant, right?
Yeah.
You're not in that BI quadrant. Maybe you're in that, you know, that employee S quadrant stuff, right? So you don't get that full value and that scalability. I totally get where you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we did now, some of those relationships started drying up. Not like the relationship went bad, but some of the ways that these people were sourcing deals. Like, I would get deals from everybody, but there were certain people that I would get volumes of deals from, like 10, 15, 20, 30 a year, whatever. Their deal flow started drying up just because the market changed. Things change, right? And I kind of saw the writing on the wall. So I'm like, this is not good. So what I did over the last year is I built this marketing machine that is essentially inbound and outbound. And for the first time, I'm spending money on marketing and advertising, which I've never done in the past, don't know anything about it.
How did that feel, though, initially? Did you say, like, did you say, why am I doing this? This is like an expense that I didn't have before. Did you sort of doubt that it was the right move?
No, I knew that if I didn't, like, you have to adapt in life and business.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's like adapt or die.
Sure.
So I knew, I see the writing on the wall. I see the deals are becoming less and less from my relationships. And I know that I want to do hundreds and hundreds of deals.
400, 500.
In literally the toughest state to do anything in, but especially this, because New York is an attorney state. Most other states, you show up, you make a deal, you pull a contract out, they sign right there, you're done. Now we have to get attorneys involved. It takes too much time. Half the attorneys aren't necessarily real estate attorneys. Deals blow up all the time. We probably lose, actually I know how much we lose. We lose about 25 to 30% of all accepted offers due to some type of attorney issue.
Meaning it's a good deal, but an attorney sometimes kills the deal for one reason or another?
Well, no. So for example, we have an accepted offer with a seller. They're like, I'm happy with this number. Great, we're happy paying that number, okay? In the interim, something happens. Maybe one of their friends we're waiting on their attorney. It takes their attorney 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Sometimes we've chased attorneys for like 2, 3 months. There have been times where I've literally had to show up at an attorney's door and sit there and say, I'm not leaving your waiting room until we get this contract done.
This isn't a scenario, though, where they're getting paid for the time. It's not like they're not doing this pro bono work for their client.
No.
They just haven't gotten to it yet.
So there's any number of scenarios. A, they're not real estate attorneys.
Okay.
So they're gunking up the process.
Right.
B, time passes, and ultimately time kills all deals. So with enough time by, maybe somebody gets in their ear. Maybe a family member says, well, you know, I want to buy it. Let's keep it in the family.
Right.
A lot of times you have attorneys that have relationships with people and are trying to get kickbacks and pass the deals off.
Oh, so they're trying they're trying to block.
Yeah, they're like, oh, don't sell it to this guy. I have an investor that I know, and he'll give you $3 more because I already know what the offer is.
Right.
So there's, for any number of reasons, time kills all deals in every industry.
Yeah.
So that's why in New York it's very, very hard. Plus, there's limited supply. There's a lot of demand. It is a very cutthroat, competitive environment. Things are expensive. It is a hard place to do anything.
Yeah. Well, I know in having conversations that you and I have had over the years, you know, you did a lot of homework, man. You waited, this is the wrong way to say waited on the sidelines, but you were in the batting cage, man. You were doing the work. You were learning. You were running
Still
through.
am.
Right. But I mean, before you did deal one,
Yes.
you were, and I know you've always said, even when I've said to you, because we're, you know, you don't necessarily, I think, look at me and go, oh my God, if Tommy D takes my money, I'm in trouble, right? So I've said to you, should I go out and buy my own home? Should I do that? And your answer to me, out of love, I believe, was, are you going to do the homework?
Yeah.
Are you going to do the work? Are you going to put in the time?
Yep.
Are you going to learn, Tommy? And I go, dude, probably not doing that. I got ADHD, man. I probably don't even have the time. I'm not going to do it. I'm doing 9 other things. So your answer was, well, then just do this. Stay with our current situation, which we should talk about what that is for a second too. And then we'll go back to the homework and you getting prepared. But like, because you're still taking money, you're still taking investors' money. What does that look like? What's the dynamic of that so people understand?
So from day one, obviously we buy a lot of houses. So from day one, we have private investors like yourself, and I can't thank you enough for all the support over the years, that invest in the project. So alongside of us, we have investors. And what they do is they get a fixed rate of return, 10.5%, and it's interest paid monthly. So regardless of how good or bad I do, people have a steady income stream every single month, month over month, of that 10.5% annualized interest, which is backed by a professional like myself who's done 600 plus houses at this point, even more, and to Long Island real estate, which You can see it, you could feel it, you could touch it, you could walk by it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no more land. Long Island's totally built out. So it is, in my opinion, one of the best opportunities out there. You get double-digit interest, backed by a professional operation, backed by real estate in a market that is very, very solid.
Yeah, that's great. So if people do want to get more information, want to bring in some money, want to invest, how do they reach out?
So I'm on every social media platform, you name it, handsome_homebuyer. It's very easy to send me a DM or message, and I'll get right back to you.
Perfect. That's easy, and he's going to get back to you, right? It's not even somebody on the team. You're going to do it. Let's go to the education side of things, because I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad that kind of put you on this track, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So Rich Dad Poor Dad, I owned the body shop franchise called Mako, like better get Maker for everybody who's like 40 or older. In Hempstead, and I was doing that for 10 years, but I didn't really like it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
So somebody gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read it, and I'm like, that's it. I'm going to be a professional investor. But like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Is it stocks? Is it real estate? Whatever. So I started studying the greats of stocks, and I realized that's not for me. Just the stock market just doesn't really fit my personality. So I got into real estate. So I went to a one-day class at NYU on buying foreclosures, because everybody, when they first get into real estate, thinks that banks are just giving houses away, and that's
you just need the list, man. You got to get the list. Get the bank list. It's easy, right?
It's obviously the inverse. Bank deals are usually the most overpriced deals there are. But when I went to this one-day course at NYU, they told me that I should join the local RIA. So RIA stands for Real Estate Investment Association. I joined that. I met my mentor, Carl Chavone, my first mentor, and I've had many since then. But I trained with him for 3 years.
How many deals did you do in those first 3 years?
Zero.
Zero.
It took me 3 years to be ready to buy my first house, and it took me another year to get the first house.
Love that.
So when people come to me and they say, like, I had a gentleman call me last week, and he's like, I'm a real estate agent, but I want to flip houses. And I'm like, are you willing to sacrifice and spend time and spend money for 3 years, 2 years, 4 years before you ever buy a deal? Like, are you that dedicated?
He's like, dude, no, I like something right now. There's this property I like in Wantor.
Exactly. I just watched Flip or Flop on HGTV, and I'm ready to go.
I'm ready, man.
So that's the thing. Like, you have to. The truth is, you can be happy and you can make money doing anything.
Sure.
Literally.
Yeah.
There's people that have more money than you and I could ever dream of that made probably the Met album that goes on that hat. Like, you can make tons of money doing it.
It's funny you say that. This guy, Max Siegelman Stables, I was with him with the Mets the other night. This is the logo from his dad's stable, Siegelman Stables. And his dad used to run horses at the track, the Trotters, out at Roosevelt and Aqueduct, different things like that. He came up, he decided with this logo, he was going to put these logos on things for his dad's stable, and now he's got celebrities wearing all his stuff. He's doing a great job with it. I was with him the other night at an event because I'm on the board of Horseability, and Horseability, he's giving back money for equine therapy because his dad works over there, volunteers over there in his retirement. But you know the guy that made the most money, since you say that about logos and stuff? The guy who did that thing on the shoelaces, you know that, like that, it's like not a piece of tape, but the plastic part on your shoelace? Yeah. That guy was like a gazillionaire. Yeah. Forget about it, like just something like that, right?
Yes.
So people can make money at different things for sure.
At anything. But you really have to love it. So I said to this gentleman, I was like, do you have such a burning desire to flip houses that you wake up every morning? True story, very quick. I literally woke up last night, 2 nights ago, at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bathroom layout design that I was dreaming about. Like, we were having an issue trying to fit 2 bathrooms in this layout. Yeah. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, I got it. Came into work the next day. I'm like, Charlie, this is what it is. Drew it out. Go with it.
And that's it. But that's because you live and breathe this, because you love it, right?
Yeah. I love real estate. I do. So, then I did my first house. It sold literally exactly whatever my projections were, like buy for this, renovate for this, sell for that, like on the nose. That was my proof of concept.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And then I put the Mako up for sale. I sold it. And I've been doing this for 8 years, and we've done hundreds and hundreds of houses.
When, during this time, having been a witness to what you're doing, I know you went back to school. You went to NYU, you went to SHAC, you went and got your master's in real estate, is that right? Why was that important?
So when I went to NYU the first time for that one day, I just kind of felt that I needed to go back. I'm like, I know to get to the next level of where I need to go, I have to come back here. Yeah. So I ended up going back, getting my master's, 2.5 years, all year round. Amazing experience.
Flipping houses, doing the
flipping
biz.
60, 70, 80 houses a year while going back, trucking to the city twice a week. Great experience. I learned a lot. Definitely helped me get to the next level. I met some amazing people along the way. It was a very cool experience.
Yeah. Do you think that, this is the wrong way to say it, but do you think that credential took you to a different stratosphere? You know, like, I don't want to say legitimized because you were running this great business, but do you think that even opened your eyes or gave you more credibility in the space by going back and getting a degree at NYU?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was a positive experience all around. It's, especially now that I started getting into more dealing with like big funds. So now we have, because since we're doing so many deals, we have funds coming to us saying, you know, we want to give you credit lines of, you know, 10, 20, 30, $50 million, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they like to see that. They like to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In general, I mean, I learned a lot also about just like underwriting, deal analysis. Like, I started building a big rental portfolio right after that. And just the methods by which, you know, you underwrite that I learned there really helped me. You have to understand that program is probably like top 2 or 3 in the country.
Is it really? Yeah.
And the people that teach it are not, it's not like, oh, I went to school to become a teacher that teaches real estate analysis.
They're practitioners. They do the work. They're operators.
And they're operating at the highest level in the toughest city in the world.
So talk about the network you develop from that, right? The relationships that come out of that, and the fact that you got guys that are doing this work all day long that are teaching you.
You know, exactly. Like, I took a class on affordable housing, and it's being taught by the head of NYCHA. You know, NYCHA is basically the affordable housing governmental body in New York City. Like, those are the people that you are learning from. So it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, really, that's unbelievable. It's an incredible opportunity. I talked to you about being a change maker. You know, obviously helping out your investors, helping out the people, helping take people who might not be able to get access to homes. I know you do some of that in lower income things, scenarios like that. But I think in a lot of cases, when I think of a change maker from your perspective, you're changing communities. You're revitalizing communities. You know, if somebody just thinks it's this capitalist guy coming in and buying properties and flipping properties, that's not what you're doing. You know, you're literally giving a facelift to parts of Long Island. I want to hear, you know, some of that from you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel exactly the same way as you.
Right.
Some people do. A lot of people don't, ironically, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, developers historically don't tend to be loved by the public. I think there's this, you know, false kind of idea that they just want to come in, make a ton of money, don't care what they're leaving behind, and leave.
Well, there's probably some of that's real. There's probably people who don't care, right, and are just in to make some money. So not that that's the right assessment of people across the board, right? We can't paint everybody with a certain brush. So there probably are people that don't care about community. They're just going to come in, flip, and move on, right?
No, that's true. I think it's the minority of people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I'm talking about commercial developments. I'm talking about pretty much everything. But yeah, I mean, at our level, we come in. There's a house that has been sitting there for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years in some cases, falling down, decrepit, you know, squatters in there, raccoons, whatever it is. And we completely gut renovate, and we put hundreds of thousands of dollars into these properties, and we make them beautiful, and we, you know, sell them to a nice family that ends up living there for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Right, so if I live on that block and you got raccoon house, right, and then you don't have raccoon house, I win, right? Like, that sounds pretty good to me.
You would think so, yes. There's some people that get upset about it. Some people just don't like change, I guess. But overall, yeah, it's very, very nice for me to kind of scratch my creative itch.
Yeah.
Because you know, I can't draw. I come from a very artistic family.
Do you really? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. My sister is a copywriter and a food editor now. My other sister was a photography major and a glass blowing minor. They're both like artists. They can draw like the most beautiful thing.
One of your sisters I know, but I didn't know that somebody is a glass blower. Really?
Yeah, literally went to school to do glass blowing and photography.
God. I didn't know that.
I could barely read like, you know, my own chicken scratch.
Right, sure.
So my creative outlet is, you know, deal structure, putting that stuff together, and then ultimately taking a house that is decrepit and falling it down, and then seeing it for what it can be, and then doing that.
I want to ask you about this because I got a funny memory of one of my sons. He does a video, right? And it was like, if your house smells like cat pee, I was. And I go, dude, you got to see this. You got to see. Well, you know. You talk about brand recognition, the handsome home buyer, right? You know, the nonprofit sector connector. The first time I don't think you know this, you might know this, but the first time I ever actually did a podcast, was on a podcast, was on your podcast.
Nice.
Which we're standing up at your desk out in like Farmingdale, right? You had the stand-up desk up and down. And it's funny, now I've done almost 200 episodes of Philanthropy and Focus and this new project, and I'm going to do some other stuff. And I go back, and it's funny because I've always been this guy, I've always had this personality, but I would never go on anybody's podcast before. Because back in the day, I actually cared like if I said something wrong and there was a recording of me saying stuff wrong, until I got to a certain point in my age that I realized most of the time what I'm saying is not gonna be 100% correct, so who really cares anyway, right? So I kind of just live there now and in that, and I guess that's maybe growth or maturity. And my son was in the backseat of my car one day and I had something on, it was a commercial or something, and it was, if your house smells like cat pee, the whole thing, like that, I love that. I love what you do, man. I love the content. I love the shtick. I think it's hysterical. Some of the stuff, there was one time you were doing this thing where it was totally a joke, where you're like, look at my Rollie, look at his car, like all the bull, like, right? And it was you just going, that's not me, this is me, right? I love that because that's not you. You're not pretentious. You're just a regular dude who's doing really important work, right? Your podcast, all the content you're building, right? That cat pee thing is hysterical. Do you look at it as it's a good thing, a bad thing? What are your thoughts? I mean, making that decision to go in that direction.
With what, like
saying, it used to probably be called like the Handsome Homebuyer podcast when I was on it, and then it was called like, and then it had like a litter box, and it was like, dude.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm constantly experimenting with things.
Right, you're trying stuff.
And I never take myself too seriously at all, and I'm always playing around. So yeah, at one point I realized, I'm like, every house I buy smells like cat pee. Like every time I walk in there, it's like, it's just animals. So that's where that kind of stemmed from. In retrospect, I ended up changing it because then there's a certain percentage of the population that even if they know their house smells like cat pee, they're like, I don't want to.
So it's not that anymore. You changed it again?
No, I changed. I did that for a certain period of time, but it was so impactful that people always remember. Like, oh, you're the cat pee guy. You're the cat pee guy. I'm like, I did that for that long, huh?
Maybe you didn't. It's just a memorable thing.
Yes.
So, and that's the thing.
Yes.
It's funny, like there was these two women one time with their realtors, and I was talking to them. I said, "Oh, my boy Charles, the Handsome Homebuyer." Yeah, but he's like, so we're talking about cat pee.
Yeah.
And it's funny how people put you in that zone, but and then it's like the commercials I see on like News 12 and stuff like that, where you guys are playing around, you're doing great stuff. Gary Vaynerchuk, right? I mean, you gotta do content, you gotta get out there. I probably never start Philanthropy in Focus if I'm not watching something that Gary Vee was talking about. And he said, if there's something you're passionate about, something you're fired up, you do it, you build content around it. And now I say, February coming up, I'll have hit 200 episodes of a show that was
That's amazing.
Just an idea, bro.
That's a lot.
Every Friday morning, I do the show. So it's, Friday comes at the end of every week, so it means it's another show.
It takes a lot of discipline because there's a lot of people that, if I could only do one thing marketing-wise, I would do a podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast is the most powerful.
Do you do one regularly now, or
yeah, pretty much every week?
It is every week. Yeah. Why? Why would you? If you say that's where you focus in on?
Just because business is really about relationships, right? And podcasts give you the ability to connect with people that you otherwise might not be able to.
Yeah.
So podcasts are like the most selfish, yet seemingly selfless thing that you could possibly do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? Because if there's so many people that I've had on my podcast who would have never met me, talked to me, or given me 5 minutes.
Right, but you're going to spotlight them. You're going to put them on the show.
Exactly.
They'll be there, right?
Exactly. That's the thing, and that's why I teach that to people that are trying to expand their business, like realtors, like loan officers. For example, with loan officers, I always tell them do a podcast every day if you can. What do you mean? I was you ever call? Most loan officers call up realtors and say, hey, I'll take you to coffee. We'll talk about my products. No realtor wants to go to coffee and talk about your products. But if you call up a realtor and say, listen, I have this podcast, I have this audience. They really want to hear about your career and how you got there and all the things that you're doing. Every realtor's saying yes.
Of course they are. It's because it's a great commercial for them. Why wouldn't they say? So it's a win-win. It's a beautiful thing. But it's from the host perspective is I just got time with somebody I might not have got time with. That's a beautiful thing.
And you get to repurpose the content.
100%.
And you get tagged and you get opened up to their network of people that you would have probably never been exposed to before.
Yeah.
So it's just a win-win-win.
Yeah, it is such and the barrier to entry really is not very high.
No, you can do it for free, basically.
You can. You got a microphone, you got a computer, you got a camera, now you got a show. And I'll tell you, the thing that blows my mind is when I started Philanthropy in Focus, not really knowing what I was doing, I don't know, my mom was listening, I guess, at the time. My dad used to watch it sometimes, too. But 18,000 people every month are checking out this show. Dude, I don't know 18,000 people, man. That's
a big deal.
It is a big deal.
That's a lot of people.
And I go, holy cow, that's really cool because it is great for me, but it's great for the organization. Every week it's a different nonprofit organization. Yep. Every week it's a different story. My answer is now those nonprofits, the show is I help nonprofits tell their story and amplify their message. And I believe that that's what I'm doing. People who didn't know anything about the organization, if it's a veterans-based organization now, people know they can plug in, and it's always like, how do we help you out? What do you need? What's next? And it's proven a lot.
There's never been a person that came on one of my podcasts that something good didn't happen to as a result of that.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah, of course, because it's exposure.
Yep.
Right.
And then, that's basically what it comes down to.
What's the future? You said I can't. I don't want to say I can't believe it, because of course I believe it, but 400 to 500 houses, man, it's unbelievable. I said it's unbelievable, but I believe it. That's great.
I mean, for me, I've gone back and forth about all this. I always said I want to be in the private equity world.
I remember you called me one day.
Yeah.
You called me one day, dude. We're gonna start like a hedge fund or something like that. And I go, I don't know what you mean, but I'd like to help.
And it's going to have, basically, it'll be more real estate focused. So like, I want to build a publicly traded company like a JLL or like a Knight Newmark, which is basically a giant, massive, just real estate conglomerate of sales, leasing, investments, money raising, lending, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. I think that's incredible. And coming out of having the Mako, and then this is where you are now, right? Life is funny the way it changes, and our opportunities that come in front of us. We take advantage of opportunities, and let me ask you this question: how do you feel about failure?
I mean, it's a necessary part of life.
Yeah, right.
You fail to succeed, right?
Yeah.
There's never been a successful person that didn't fail. So it's like, it's micro failures and sometimes not so micro failures on the way to success.
Yeah, I think that, like, unfortunately, like in era, I feel like you're a couple years younger than me, I believe, right? I'm 46. Right.
45 now.
You're 45. Oh, so oh wow, I didn't realize you're catching up to me.
Yeah.
So, in that case, when we grew up, man, failure wasn't like in school, like, oh, you failed.
Yeah.
Right? And I try to say, like, that's not how you do it. That's all.
Yep.
You didn't fail. Let's figure it out. Like, like I'm raising 4 kids right now. They're my 4 kids. It's not just not just any kids from the neighborhood. These happen to be my wife and I's 4 kids that we're raising. But in that, I'm like, it's all good. You made a mistake. You failed. It's not right. They say Edison found, like, when Thomas Edison never said he failed. He said he found 10,000 ways not to make the light bulb.
Yeah.
Not that he failed. It doesn't work. You
only fail if you stop.
100%. That's it. The story about Henry Ford. I don't know if you know this one, but Henry Ford, like, these bunch of, like, intellectuals of his time sat him down and they started asking him all these questions, and he didn't know the answers to these questions. They were like questions that he didn't need to know the answers to the questions. He goes, you don't understand. Like, they put him almost like on trial. You don't understand. I have a phone on my desk, and I push different buttons, and people have these answers. He goes, I don't need to know these answers. Like, and they thought it was like they were making fun of him. They were mocking him. He goes, you're the knuckleheads, because I don't need to know that. I have people who know that, so I can be creative.
Yep.
And that's it. So I think we got to change failure in this world and make it like something people just embrace.
Yep.
Go, yeah, so that didn't work. That's it. It didn't work. I am so happy that you came here today, man. Like, I appreciate it. This is like kind of like a funny scenario for me to get to have a conversation with you, because we don't always get the time together. So anytime I want time on your calendar, I'm going to just say I'm going to interview you. Kind of like this podcast trick that we just pulled. Anything you want to say to the world so they know more about you?
Listen, I appreciate everything. I've been here for 8 years doing real estate deals. Want to continue to do it. So if you're someone that's looking to buy or sell, if you're an agent, I'd love to work with you, attorney, etc. I'm on every social media platform, torturing people's life. Handsome_home buyer. Reach out. You'll hear from me directly. And I hope to meet some of you guys.
I love you, bro. Thanks so much
for
being here, man. You're one of my favorite people. And you know what happens sometimes? I go, yeah, I invest with the Handsome Home Buyer. That's my guy. You go, you know him? I'm like, that's my guy. That's my boy. What do you mean? Like, it's like I said, I knew a celebrity, but you are a celebrity, man. Listen, talk about celebrities. The show here is called Long Island Changemakers. Every single week, I'm going to bring you important guests doing important work here on Long Island, my hometown, Strong Island, baby. This has been another In Focus production. Make it a great day. I'll see you later. Bye.